and welcome back to Noona's Noonchi, where I do a deep dive into some of your favorite K-dramas from a mental health perspective. I want to talk about a 2016 drama that I just recently discovered because some of you guys telling me that I need to watch this drama, so I did. Dear My Friends. It's on Netflix. OMG. First of all, if I'm looking a little puffy, it is because I cried through every other scene because it's so touching. A little bit sad. The Korean word that I can think of is 슬퍼, but doesn't mean sad, depressing sad, just that touching sad. Let me tell you why. Dear My Friends focuses on the stories surrounding 5 women who are at least 60 to 65 plus. You don't normally see a K-drama that outlines main characters in that older population, do you? Usually they're the 할머니es or 할아버지s or mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, and they're the side characters and big part of the family, but you don't really focus on it. Or the K-dramas, I don't really see a lot of them focusing on it. This particular one is all about them, their experiences. Now, when someone told me, actually a couple people told me about this drama, and they really were so passionate about it, I was like, it doesn't really appeal to my normal genre. Sorry to say, because let me tell you why my own opinion kind of goes into why I'm talking about the family life cycle today. The family life cycle and understanding the aging population. Why? Okay, so maybe you're super young and you're like, oh, you mean my grandmother, my grandfather? It helps you understand what they're going through perhaps. This drama, if you want to go watch it and be like, is this why my grandmother's cranky about this? Or is this why the grandfather is cranky about this? Or maybe they're upset about this? Perhaps this drama will help you understand this population. And if you're part of the sandwich generation, which I am, middle-aged population where you're caring for your aging parents and young kids or older kids, doesn't matter, you're raising kids and you're taking care of your parents. This is also for you. This is to help you better understand your parents or your grandparents or this population, because I know that they probably come across aggravating. I crack up a lot at this drama too, because they do have those little one-liners. So, Dear My Friends is about 5 friends, 60 plus, and it's told from the perspective of one of the friends, who's also 60 plus, daughter, who looks like she's in her mid-30s, and the narration is beautiful. There's beautiful nuggets that this daughter character says about what she's learning from her mom and her emos. I love how she's like, emo this, emo that. You know, the Asian population, Asian culture likes to dress people as aunties or emos, but they're not necessarily your blood relatives. You know what I'm talking about, right? Your mom's friends. Those emos and aunties who have a lot of things to say about your life. This is that kind of drama. Episode 9, one of the 할머니 says, poignantly, a little bit 슬퍼, sad. You know, we were born wearing diapers and then we die wearing diapers because one of the 할머니s or the emos was dealing with incontinence, which you could in that age. You know, and it's good to be reminded of that, what they're experiencing. And Iris Kim, a professional in the Bay Area, talks about how it humanizes their experience.
What I liked the most about Dear My Friends was that I think Hollywood and Korean entertainment doesn't really represent or show characters on screen that are more elderly adults or people who are grandparents' age. And so I really like that it offered a view into their interiority and inner lives, especially because I feel like as a society, we really tend to dehumanize people in that age category, even though they're humans just like us. You know, they have relationship troubles, they have friendship drama, they have, mental health issues. And so, but it's not really portrayed accurately, I would say. They're not really given interiority usually. And so that's what I loved, is seeing these characters on screen who really reminded me of my own grandparents. And I have like a quite close relationship with my grandparents too. And so being able to watch that with my mom and cry over scenes that reminded us of people in our own lives was quite the experience.
And then we hear from award-winning podcaster Sheena Yap Chan, who also talks about Dear My Friends and why it really touched her.
Dear My Friends is great because you do see like the children who look after their parents, like the one lady who had dementia, like her son like really loves her and wanted to do everything for her, even though sometimes she's like, get away, I don't need your help. And that's how most seniors are. They just don't want your help, but deep inside they do. It's just they're too afraid to ask for it, or like asking for help is not something that's typical in Asian culture, right? Number one, it's a pride issue. Number two, it's a sign of weakness.
So my point about this drama is really being able to empathize with aging parents. I could be speaking to you, or even if you're younger than that and you don't really feel like your parents are aging, it's something to be aware of. Why? This is part of the identity stages of psychosocial development by Erik Erikson, rooted in psychology. But I'm going to talk about this with you because I want you to understand this relates to the family. Someone actually says it's actually the grandmother of the female character who's telling the story, the young female character who's telling the story, that this grandmother who's older, maybe 80s, and who says something like, hey, why can't I have this nice dress? You know, because I think her daughter, who's the older mother, 60s, saying, well, you don't need something like this. Almost dismissing her like, you know, what, you're about to croak. I mean, it was very dismissive and it hurt this grandmother. I could see that. And she was like, wait a second, I only live once and maybe I am closer to death, so why can't I have this dress? I want it, and so why can't I have that? So basically, fighting for being able to enjoy her life. And let me tell you how this relates to the psychosocial stages of development. There's a crisis in each stage. That doesn't mean you're constantly experiencing crisis, but in this older demographic, 65 and up, called ego integrity versus despair identity stage, their crisis is fulfillment, the fulfillment crisis. And the virtue that they really identify with here is wisdom. Surprise, surprise, not. No, they want to live their life to the fullest. The crisis there is whether or not they feel fulfilled. And I could see why depression spikes at that age, because again, you're dismissed. You know, you may be dismissed by the middle-aged child of yours that is caring for you that just doesn't think your opinion really matters anymore because you're old and cranky and maybe you don't know what you're saying because they suspect, oh, it's dementia or something. I saw a lot of that. And clearly those are experiences that you see in this drama, dementia to death. And this is where it humanizes their experience. And that's what Iris Kim said, right? About humanizing, seeing them in a light that we don't really get to see. That's why it's so unique. And I'm still watching it, so I'm sure I'll talk about it again, but I really wanted to point out that this is the life cycle. This is the life cycle. Now, the stage below it, which is generativity and stagnation, which is the middle-aged population, the sandwich population. It's good to know this. They are the ones taking care of the aging parents and raising kids. You know, and so there's got to be an understanding if you're in that population to understand what your aging parents are going through and your kids, which we could talk about later, but really, really seeing and being empathetic and compassionate to their experience. They're still people, they're still living, and a lot of them want to be heard. And it's easy for us to dismiss them. Maybe because they have all this experience, we think that that's all they have. No. So there is a really rich scene in episode 4 that I don't know why I was just crying at, because it really gave me the look, as Ira said, about humanizing this older experience, this older demographics experience that we don't get to see, that honestly we probably downplay and don't really hear from. And she says, the young daughter says this, watching one of her emos lose her mom, who's about in her 90s, and this emo is in her 70s. And she's like, you know, despite the rich experience this older demographic has, the experience of losing your mom or grieving your mom, you only experience it once. And it's equally sad each time, right? What I'm trying to say there is she's realizing, wow, I shouldn't underestimate the sadness and grief that this emo is experiencing just because I figure she's been through it all and seen it all. You only lose your mom once. And you grieve that once. And she said it's an equal experience across the board. So what I'm trying to say is understanding the family life cycle. And this is only going to be one episode that I'm going to do on it. I'd love to talk more specifically about Dear My Friends and how it really enriches their experience. Get that empathy behind this population. Again, the population struggling with feeling fulfilled and wanting to exude that wisdom to their younger generation, and also wanting to be heard. Let's let them live their life to the fullest. Help them feel fulfilled. If you're dealing with an aging parent, it is difficult. I know that caretaking takes a toll, but how it can help you in caretaking for this demographic is empathizing their experience, because guess what? You're going to be there as well. And then having compassion and showing that through your actions of taking care of them. Yes, it's difficult. And I know that even the caretakers can experience depression through this. Dear My Friends really outlines the 65 plus demographic and living life to the fullest. One of them is dating, and you see their excitement like you would if you were like 18, yes, it's fun to see. They are human. Let's not underestimate their voice. Humanizing them. Oh, I love that word that Ira said, right? And feel the empathy that Sheena talked about relating to loving her grandmother even more because it reminded her of her grandmother. We see our grandmothers, our families very differently. It's a very different relationship, right? They're always giving the wisdom, the emails talking down to you, maybe condescending, yap, 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 nagging, chansori, that's the Korean word for it. But all that aside, because this is part of the human life cycle, the family life cycle, coming full circle from newborn to elder, and talking about the diapers. Let's just use that imagery that you come full circle in life. So it's good to understand what you'll be going through. And that identity experience, your mental health, let me tell you something. Depression spikes in that age because they don't feel heard. They are neglected. And it is aggravating because sometimes because of their age, their brain slows down. They're not able to exude everything in words. So that does happen, of course. And of course there is dementia, all that can come with aging. But if you're relating to this and can understand, hopefully, how to best make them feel like they're still part of the family, I hope it enriches you in looking at holistically the family, from babies to the elder population, because that is all part of the family cycle. And I just wanted to share that, and I'm sure I'll know more, but hopefully you'll understand a little bit about how this plays out. Again, Dear My Friends on Netflix.